All right, we ready? All right, well, thank you for being here at the 2022 Pima Community College, Santa Cruz County Secondary Schools K-12 Superintendents and High School District School Administrators Luncheon. Woo, that was a long one, right? So thanks for being here. I know since being the director here at Pima Community College, we've been really wanting to establish and improve and repair relationships with our school districts, and we feel that we're getting there. We still got a lot of work to do, but we're happy with where we're at and where we're going and what our vision looks like from this point forward. If you noticed outside, we have some programs that are here to answer any of the questions you might have in terms of whether we bring some of your students transitioned to Pima Community College, or how we can incorporate some of their programs into your high schools as a dual enrollment course or program. So please ask them questions, pick their brains, collect information. There's also some pretty good swag out there that you guys might need for the next coming years, especially when you're doing all the grading, right? So we're going to start off this luncheon with the Chancellor, Lee Lambert of Pima Community College. He's going to be up here talking about the future of what it looks like for a student, but most importantly, how we can tie that into the things that we're doing with our high school programs. So if I could please invite Chancellor Lee Lambert up to the podium.
Thank you, James, and good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Pima Community College's downtown campus. Before I begin, I just want to acknowledge that today's event is taking place on the ancestral lands of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the Pasquayaki people. It's one thing to do a land acknowledgement. It's another thing to actually show that you're actually developing and strengthening relationships with the tribes. And that's what we've done at Pima Community College. If you're not aware, we helped the Tohono O'odham Nation launch their very own Pima Community College, their very own community college, sorry. And then we are working very closely with the Pasquayaki around a number of different program areas. And so again, just an example of, got to go beyond the land acknowledgement piece. So what I want to do this morning is kind of give you a sense of what I think is the future of, especially of higher education. And I start out by asking my folks three questions. Why don't you go ahead and move. I start out asking my folks three questions. You can go back to the other slide. It's okay. First question is, where's the puck going? That famous Wayne Gretzky quote. The next question I like to ask is, what problem are we trying to solve? And the last question is, what's the data and the evidence telling us? What story is being conveyed? So with that said, let's go to the next slide. Higher education especially, and education in general, we're at a strategic inflection point. And we now have to make some critical, very strategic decisions. Are we going to make that right turn, or are we going to become part of the dustbin of history? The second curve, if you're not familiar with the work of Ian Morrison, I highly encourage you to read his book on the second curve. And what he's essentially saying is, we all have to move into the 21st century. And we must move from the first curve, the industrial curve, onto that digital curve that's in front of us. So we're now in this transition phase. And we've been living through that transition phase. Just to put it in context for you, it took over 50 years to fully transition from the agricultural era into the industrial era in which we are now living. And what it is symbolized by the combustible engine. It took 50 years. Is it going to take another 50 years to fully move onto that digital curve? I don't think it's going to take 50 years. It's going to happen a lot faster. The question is, when did it actually start? Some would argue it started just before the turn of the 20th century to the 21st century. I know for me, in terms of being more involved at the CEO level, I really started to see this happening in the mid-2000s and such. So at that transition point, I like to talk about the 5 gaps. So those are the problems we have to solve. The enrollment, the educational achievement gap. You all know what I mean by that. If we don't close that gap, bring more of our kids up to a college readiness, career readiness level, and going to college in far greater numbers than what's going on here in the state of Arizona. As you all know, we're one of the worst states in the union for that. A lot of our kids are not going to have a very good future, and that's already happening, as you all know. So that's the educational achievement gap. I talk about the technology gap. I'll come back to that here shortly. The global diversity gap, the sustainability gap. That's our own organizations being able to be sustainable, as well as addressing the realities of climate change and its impacts on our communities and society. And the last one is the skills gap. So to me, those are the transition areas, and we have to focus in moving from that industrial curve onto that digital curve. So let me just share a couple of slides about what that may look like for us in education. In the industrial curve, things were a set place, time, rigid course schedules set by the institution. It's going to move now. It is already moving to be more variable, more anywhere, anytime, any format, in-person, hybrid, online, and guess what? It is going to be driven by the learner, not by the institution any longer. We're starting to feel the effects of that. Just to put this in context for you, I think the next slide really captures this, so let's go ahead. There's nearly 1 million unique credentials that are produced every year. Nearly 1 million unique credentials. How many providers are there of those unique credentials? Well, if you think about colleges and universities, there's only about 4,000 to 5,000 of us that are accredited by these regional accreditors, although they're moving away from that framing because they're really all becoming national accreditors. There are over 55,000 providers of credentials. 55,000. This space is becoming very, very crowded very quickly, and the colleges and universities are not the main players. Although we have the largest audience base right now, and if you've been following the news, community colleges have been losing enrollment steadily since coming out of the Great Recession. And we've lost significant enrollment more recently. So there's a reality that's unfolding. I think community colleges, regional universities are most at threat to becoming the dinosaur of the industrial era. I'm working hard, my team's working hard to make sure Pima does not become one of those dinosaurs, that we move onto that digital curve. You're going to see more project-based focus, you're going to see more immersive learning focus, and a number of other things I don't have time to get into at the moment. But one big area that is of significance to us is working more closely with each and every one of you to really increase the career and college readiness of your learners. And so you're going to see a greater investment into dual enrollment. We believe every learner that you serve now should have the opportunity, if they so choose, to leave you with an associate's degree, or at least at a minimum, industry-recognized certification. So we're willing to work with you to figure out how we make that happen. And so I'm going to turn it back over to James, because he's going to really take us through some of those pieces. You're going to see some incredible data sets, scary at a certain level, but also it brings up great opportunities for us. And I like to look at them as great opportunity points. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Lambert. Now we're going to move on to Rebecca Mckay. She's the Senior Director of Systems Development and Administration at AZ Transfer. For more than 20 years, AZ Transfer has brought academic leaders together from each of the Arizona's public post-secondary institutions to support transfer student success. AZ Transfer ensures Arizona's students have access to efficient, seamless, and simple ways to transfer from a community college to a four-year university. And with that, I introduce Rebecca Mckay.
Hi, everyone. My co-presenter, Dr. Joseph O'Reilly, sends his regrets. He is the executive director of the ASU Helios Decision Center for Educational Excellence, and he couldn't be here with us today, but I've got this, so you guys are in good hands. I do work for AZ Transfer, but I fell in love with this project starting to work with the high school, so I'm now splitting my time between AZ Transfer and the ASU Helios Decision Center for Educational Excellence, which gets very tiresome to say, but we're supposed to say the whole thing. So what do we do at the Decision Center? The graphic you see here is called the Decision Theater, or as we call it, the drum. And it's basically, if you're into big data, it's kind of like your cathedral. It's one of my favorite places to be in the world. But what's happening here is a demo of a tool that we call the High School Outcomes Tool. And it looks at all of the high schools in Arizona, and it pulls together all kinds of national data to look at environmental factors and lots of other factors as to why students would be, or are they performing, what is the college going rate. It's a very fun tool. It's not the one I'm here to talk to you about today, though. But essentially, at the ASU Helios Decision Center for Educational Excellence, we are a kind of a data think tank for education data. And some of our projects include, the one I'm going to be highlighting today, is the post-secondary feedback reports. So if you're here today and you're from a high school and you've ever wondered, how do my students perform when they go on to an Arizona community college or an Arizona public university, ASU, NAU, or U of A? And not just like, do they graduate, but like first year, what are their grades per subject? What are their GPA? How many of them are on financial aid? Any of those questions anybody ever had in the room? Because you're going to find out here today. The high school outcome module I've talked about, the National Student Clearinghouse is where many of you receive your college going rate. How many of my kids go on to college? Whatever you've been told it is, it's higher. And you know why? Students can opt out of the National Student Clearinghouse. They get to decide, share my data or don't share my data. They do not get to do that from the Assist Data Warehouse, which is our statewide data warehouse for transfer, which houses all of the community college and university student data. Because it's simply a research tool. It doesn't have anything for profit or any other purpose. So one of our objectives this year is to compute what is your actual college going rate. Anyway, you guys get it. We're doing studies on the impact of advanced placement and dual enrollment and CTE course taking. I'm just curious, how many of you are already fully in on dual enrollment here today? Okay. I think by the end of this session, everybody will be all in. So, and then we have a project that's an automatic admission pilot project that's being piloted between Phoenix Union District and ASU, essentially notifying seniors, you're already admitted. And it's, the numbers are astounding to contact them before they even have to apply and say, we've looked at at all of your grades and you're in. So it's an exciting project. Future projects, COVID impact visualization, some education workforce stuff, if you've ever wondered what happens to your students after they leave post-secondary. The success catalog, where are the stories in Arizona where things are really going well? And how do we propagate that, all over the state? And I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then some future opportunities would be getting the wage data. Right now, it's already published for ASU, NAU, and U of A, and we're in the process of getting a data sharing agreement so we can have all of that wage data for every community college in the state of Arizona. Okay, so the post-secondary feedback reports, where did the data come from? How did it happen? The data sharing agreement was signed in fall of 2020, and it was between the Arizona Department of Education, so all of the high school data, AZ Transfer, which includes community college and university data, community college president signed, and the Arizona Board of Regents signed, and the entire project was funded by Helios. What are the questions that the reports try to answer? And some of this I've already told you. What are their grades, the majors, GPA? Do they match the gender and ethnicity demographics of what's coming in your high school, financial aid, degrees and certificates, and what can we track around dual enrollment? I've already kind of talked about where the data is coming from, so I'm going to skip this slide. It's coming from Assist and ADE. Okay, so that's a little hard to see. That's a map of the state of Arizona. So Our Decision Center logo is kind of like a bullseye. Maybe you saw it before. It's got gold, and then orange, and then red, kind of a maroon on the inside. Wherever you see that logo, that is a high school that we have connected to since November. The big November 2021 was the kickoff for this project. So we've got more than half that we've connected to. But you can see down in the Tucson area, we still have some work to do. The schools that are listed here today are schools that we haven't yet connected with. So if your school's up there, hopefully by the end of the day, you'll be encouraged to fill out the one-page form to receive your credentials to log into this tool and review the reports for your high school. A lot of those are charters. Okay, so this report, which you can barely see, is a report on dual enrollment. And remember I talked about our logo. We have the yellow, orange, and the maroon. The yellow reports represent work that is done in high school, most specifically dual enrollment work. Orange will represent work that your students did while they're at community college, and then the maroon is what they've done at the university. But what we see here is a report that shows dual enrollment trends over time. It has breakouts on ethnicity, gender, the high school enrollment year, and then grades. And these reports also come with a whole suite of charts. So in this example, and by the way, we're looking at Sample High School, which is a fictitious high school. This is sample data. And when you log into the portal, you can only see your own school. You can't see report information for any other high school. But essentially, if we look at this trend, it starts in 2013-14 and goes out to 2019-2020. We're currently loading the 2021 data now. So the other thing about this is the data is pretty fresh. In big data terms, that's not bad. And you can see the trends here. Back in 2013, very few freshmen were taking any dual enrollment courses. But as time goes on, you can see the rise and the trend in seniors and just the trend in dual enrollment in general. This is a breakout by gender. And these are grades, the yellow being A's, the orange being B's, and then C's, and then the others are withdrawal or D or F. And of course, withdrawal or D or F is considered not successful. We've got ethnicity breakouts. All of this is still dual enrollment. Now, this is the first report we're seeing. This is the dual enrollment benchmark report. And this is where we're finally getting into course level information. So if we follow this report along, and I'll see if I can work, you could see here, maybe we'll follow English. We've got English dual enrollment, 121 enrollments in 2019-20. 117 of those students completed successfully, meaning they passed the course with an A, B, or C. We see that results in a success percent of 96.7, which this fictitious high school, that beats what they did last year by 3.2%. And it's exactly an even tie with the Arizona percentage. 2 of the students were unsuccessful. They got a D or an F. And 2 of the students withdrew the course. So one of the critiques, I won't call it a criticism, but some high schools say, we've got a lot of challenges at our high school, and it's not exactly fair to compare us to a statewide average. And that's why we included a comparison to the coursework that your students did in that same subject matter from the previous year. So although it may be true that if you have your school with a lot of struggles and challenges, comparing you to a statewide average may not be totally, considered fair, but you can compare yourself to your previous, you compare you to you. How did I do compared to the performance last year? Any questions on the benchmark? Okay. This is the only report in the PSFR that is not specific to your high school. This is a statewide study, but so many high schools now are in the dual enrollment game, we included it because they like it. This one is tracking biology. So if you've ever wondered, do high school dual enrollment courses really prepare students for university level work? In other words, if my dual enrollment student took a course in biology, and then they went on to ASU, NAU, or U of A, and they took a 100 or 200 level course in biology, how do their grades compare to the university general population at large? And the answer is, in the 13 disciplines that we tracked, they outperform. Except for math, where it's a dead even tie, 57.1%, same. But you can see here, so on this side is the grade performance of the dual enrollment students, and these are the grades they received at the university in the same discipline, and then this is university at large. And there's a link to this in the PSFR, and it's very encouraging, and it just shows that dual enrollment is working. Okay, this is the community college feedback dashboard, and it's essentially just tracking, we have this for the 2017, 18, 19, and 2020 grads for community colleges will be coming as soon as we get the 2021 info in there. We got to have that in there to track those grads. But you can see just lots of information on these students. We see full-time, part-time, their status, and then this is financial aid information. And here's where we get into how many degrees were awarded. These are the 2 years degrees. These are the certificates. Which of the community colleges in Arizona were attended. Information on GPA. This is enrollments over time. And we include on the community college report only the last 2 years of high school, because what we see there is there's so much dual enrollment activity that we start tracking the 2017 grads at the start of their junior year. So that's why it's a little wonky, because maybe they took a dual enrollment class one semester and then nothing the next semester. And then ethnicity breakouts. This report format should look familiar. This is the community college benchmark. It's very, very similar to the high school dual enrollment benchmark that I showed you before. The difference here is to increase the sample sizes, we look at 3 years of graduates and 3 years of community college course taking. But it's the same information. How many enrollments in that subject area? How many of them completed successfully? And then how does that compare to a statewide average? Because this is a 3-year benchmark, we don't compare to a single year the way we do with the dual enrollment. University reports. So what you see here is the university feedback, almost exactly similar to the community college feedback. We don't collect financial aid information from the universities, and that's something that's come up, and it's something that we're gonna try and get that into the data warehouse so we can report on that. In this example, we're tracking the 2019 grads. They haven't completed their degrees yet, so instead of showing the degree completion, we show what are their majors as of the most recent semester, along with GPA and enrollment and other things. And then the final report, the university course benchmark. This is almost exactly the same as the community college course benchmark, again, with the 3 years of graduates and 3 years of course taking to get those sample sizes to kind of establish the trend. But the difference here is it only includes 100 and 200 level courses, because the thinking is the work you do in high school should be preparing you for those 100 and 200 level courses. The 300 and 400 level courses, it's your freshman and sophomore year at the universities that should be preparing you for those. So that's why this report is filtered down by 100 and 200 level only at the university. Okay? So when we meet with high schools, these are some of the questions that we ask them. I think one of the ones that has been most interesting to me is how do these reports confirm what you have been seeing in your own practice? What does not seem to match? One of the funnest things when we meet with a high school is if they are at the very top. For example, there's 3 high schools in Yuma where 100% of the students go on to ASU, NAU, or U of A and successfully pass their engineering courses. And so we reached out to them, Yuma, what's going on? And basically their answer was, we didn't know that we were doing that well, but we knew something was going on. And they had a story behind it where they'd received a grant, and I think there was a club started and different things, but we're trying to go around and what we're calling a success catalog, gather those stories of where high schools are doing really well, and come up with a catalog that all high schools could use to say, this is what worked there, how can we mirror what they're doing? And so that look to that. This is still our pilot year, so we're going around interviewing high schools, but to be continued on that one, and it's a very fun project. Okay, so that's the meat of what I wanted to share with you today. If you try and click on that decisioncenter.asu.edu just to show you all. So if you go to decisioncenter.asu.edu, tools, and then post-secondary feedback report portal. Tools is kind of in that middle. Underneath the ASU logo, you might see it in the black banner there in the menu item. And tools, yep. And then that first link is the post-secondary, very good. Okay, so this is where there's a 3-minute video you can watch that just explains everything I just showed you here today. But there are buttons there for the logging in. But first, before you log in, you need to request access. So you can see in the middle of the page there's a short page. Why don't we just click that request access button? It's not a long form. However, what is required is that you have a district-issued email address. We will not give this out to anybody with a Gmail or anything like that. So if you're at a charter and you guys use Gmail, then let us know. We can work with ADE to try and get that resolved. That is the meat of what I had to share with you today. I do have some packets up here which have printouts of the sample reports. I got about 30 before the printer died. It also has a sheet in there with a QR code that says, here's how you can get an account information. So help yourselves to those. They're up here at the front. Are there any questions for me related to the PSFR or the reports or the data? Hearing none? Oh, yeah.
So is there some comparison data there with AP and dual enrollment? That was part of it?
That study is, so the AP study is out, and it's actually on the Decision Center. I believe there's a link to it. If you were to go to that Decision Center page, you can find that report to read up on AP. The dual enrollment report is being produced right now. So that is going to be coming soon, and the big vision is in that drum, that decision theater room with all the visualizations, to do kind of some comparisons in there and to inform, you know, all of our stakeholders in Arizona.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just make a comment? So I got to go sit in the drum, and so I got to go sit in the drum, and if you haven't been there, it is amazing. So what I've talked to our mayor, and I've talked to Tony Penn at Cradle to Career. So if any of you are interested in going up to Phoenix and participating with us, please let James know. And we can't take everybody in one shot, so probably at the superintendent level, at least at this point. And we'll go up there, if it's okay to do that, right? We can bring.
Yeah, let's make it.
You can show all, is it okay to show each of their high schools to each one another?
I think, with their consent.
Okay,
If they
so
say,
we
please
gotta
don't
have
bring
your
up my high
consent.
school, then that's fine too. We can bring up a sample.
So we're looking to arrange for that to happen. Paul Luna has extended his hand to us to come up. So please let James know so we can make this happen. I think it would be phenomenal for our community. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we're at that point where now we get to go enjoy lunch, kind of talk about this information that you just received, and hopefully, if you want, you can come get a packet from Rebecca. But more importantly, have these conversations about what are we doing in our schools and what are some great things that are happening right now that you might be able to pick somebody's brain and say, hey, I want to do that at our high school as well. We'll be more than happy to answer questions. Please visit our booths out here, have conversations with our Pima folks, but most importantly, just have fun with each other. And we know that this is a close network anyways, with public schools, right, or K-12 schools. We're always a close network, but we always need to pick each other's brains and try to look at those best practices and bring that with us from today. So hopefully we can identify that. So lunch is going to be outside these two doors to the left past the booths. The sandwiches are up on the counter. Grab yourself a sandwich, find you a table in that cafeteria area, or even come out here to the patio area and just kind of enjoy the beautiful weather that we're having here in the Tucson area. So with that, we'll have an hour lunch, and then we'll come back at 12:05 to start the next portion of it, to give you some. 105, yeah, thank you for the correction. Woo, see, teachers, I tell you, teachers, you're just about as your students. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, thank you for being here right now, and great information. Let's soak it in and have a conversation. So we'll see you in an hour. Well, welcome back. I know a few of us was able to escape. Actually, they had some business. It was legitimate. I know the superintendent's and principal's job gets tough, and there's some fires that you got to put out. That's the everyday job, right? I miss those times. I do. All right, so I want to just real quick just cover some data of the things that we're doing here at the college with you all as far as dual enrollment and how we're expanding the opportunities. But most importantly, just showing the historical data from 5 years ago, just how huge we've grown. And that's a lot of your support and a lot of collaboration, and also the commitment that the college has made to make sure that we have the right tools and resources in place in order to make sure to support the things that you want. So for us, really the reason why we're doing this, it's good for our kids. It's really good for our economy. It's good for our community. And why not give our students the opportunity to be provided a jump start for them to complete college credit their first 2 years of their 4 university courses in dual enrollment at your high school or concurrently at the community college. So one thing that we are, and you heard the Chancellor talk about this, and you saw the data from Rebecca, is that there's some commitment level there's a commitment level from the community, and there's a commitment level from the college, and there's obviously a commitment level from the high schools that's showing the data that it's positive, that it's getting there. And it's a mixture of CTE courses that are dual enrolled and academic courses that are dual enrolled. And the best thing about high school is they can have both. A lot of the high schools are set up that way. They're set up that way. So we're very excited to show that here at Pima Community College, you can see the only thing that I'm for the department, we were really targeting 8,000 enrollment this year. We're knocking on the door. We still have a late start class that we need to enter in enrollment, so we're hoping that we can get there. If not, we've done a pretty good job of making sure that we processed 7,900 plus students. And that's my team that's out there. There's 4 of them that process all of these students. They're in charge of making sure that all 7,900 students are enrolled into the classes. They do everything from the application to the end until they're registered into the class. So my team does a huge, huge job of making sure that these students are getting into their classes. So they are the front door, and they do close the door for the students and making sure that they have what they need in order to be into this, enrolling in this class. So what's really nice, when you look at the 3-year data and 5-year data, it's obviously something that is needed. The community is talking. They want dual enrollment. They want to have an opportunity. Our students want, obviously, a challenge, right? Okay, that's fine. We'll bring dual enrollment as well. We want to complement the things that you're doing in your high schools, whether it's AP, IB, Cambridge, whatever it is you're providing for your students. We just want to be a complementary program to the things that you're already doing that's great on your campus. So let's not think of it as a competition. Let's think of it as, like I said, a complementary program where we can help give many tools and many opportunities for our students to become successful at high school and when they come to finish at Pima, or once they transfer over to their 4-year university of their choice. So we're very excited that we did meet our goal of headcount of making sure that it's one student counted for 15 credits per semester is really what it is. So it's kind of like an ADM formula that it's used. So we have 4,500, well actually we have 4,623 students that are taking 7,919 of enrollment courses. So that means that you might have one student that takes 6 credits. You might have another student that takes 12 throughout that year. That's just 1 year. That's not counting those seniors in their junior year and those seniors from last year. It's just one snapshot for this current year. So we're very excited about this. It is a lot of work. but we know it's great work because it's good for kids, right? So we are very excited. In fall, law was signed, these bills were signed into law, right? So, which really tells us not only that the community is excited about dual enrollment, not only that schools really want to provide this opportunity for students at their high schools, but most importantly, the legislation is starting to see the benefits of dual enrollment, and they're starting to support this, which is great. It's great for you, and it's great for our community, our kids. Freshmen and sophomores now, I don't know, I know we keep talking about this, but freshmen and sophomores are now allowed to participate in dual credit. There's no more 25% threshold that we have to monitor any longer, right? So this is huge for us. Now, we still haven't got to the point where a lot of our schools have really understood or really made that change to get freshmen and sophomores involved, because it did get signed into law in October, or in September, but now the conversations should start happening. We want to make sure that we are able to have these courses offered to your students. The Carnegie Unit. This is huge, because this right here can start helping you have conversations with your students in terms of, do you want to speed up your education, and what are we going to do once we speed that up? What it allows us to do is to have innovative conversations to try to figure out how can we utilize this as a strategy for our students in our high schools. That doesn't mean that, oh, well, we're going to lose these kids when they're juniors because they're graduating early. What it should be telling us is like, okay, how do we embed more dual enrollment credit their senior year, so that way these kids are finishing their associates before they finish high school. So those are the conversations that those first two bills should start happening with schools and our dual enrollment team, because we do really want to try to make that happen, right? Well, the other thing too, a lot of the schools kept saying, well, we have a teacher issue, not an issue with the teachers, but having teachers qualified to teach dual enrollment courses. Well, the Arizona Teacher Academy does now, certain your academic subjects, they do include obtaining a dual enrollment certification. So that is great for us. When we started seeing these bills pushing through, I mean, my fingers were crossed all the way through. And when it did get passed and it did happen, now we should start thinking about, what does it look like for you in 2 years? Let's get these two teachers that are interested. Let's get them in the Arizona Teacher Academy program. How can we get them to become qualified when my freshmen become juniors, or so on and so forth. So we're very excited for this kind of work that's happening at the legislative level, because we're starting to see that it's starting to become a support level from them. And we're just going to continue to push on and try to continue to push more legislation through there. And this is talking about the Arizona Teachers Academy, but you know what's really unique about what we offer here at Pima Community College? If your instructors, even a counselor, is teaching STU 100 course, or anybody's teaching a STU 100 course, and they're an active instructor for dual enrollment, they and their dependents do qualify for a tuition waiver. So that means that all they have to pay is for the $15 fee per semester, and they qualify for tuition waiver. So their kids or yourselves or your spouses or can come and take their college courses for free at Pima Community College. So there's a different level of opportunity for our instructors, and we really want to make sure that they understand that. The continuous progress here, it's going to be continuous for us. Just the conversations I had out there with you all, it's going to be continuous. And we might not have the perfect solution, but I can tell you that we're going to get pretty darn close, right? Because of these conversations. And it's going to be very courageous, because sometimes it's going to take us to make some decisions that we have to make in order for things to happen, and which is fine. And that's why we are partnering. We're partnerships. We want to make it strong. We want to make sure that we're listening to you, and we're making things happen for you all. So obviously, we want to build sustainability. We have to build sustainability, and those are conversations that we have to have internally, and those are conversations we got to have externally. How do we make that sustainable? We don't want this to go away. We want this to be something that students around Pima County and Santa Cruz County are able to say, I know about that program, I know about dual enrollment, I know about early college, and I want to make sure that my 6-year-old, when they're in middle school, are thinking about doing something like this. We want to make it sustainable, we want to create some longevity here. So like I said, I want to make sure that we're listening to you. We want to make sure that we have a plan for those of you that have a short-term problem with certified instructors. We want to have those conversations. We want to be able to help you by dispatching instructors to your school to help you teach these classes, if we have to go that route. But we have to have those conversations so that way we can come up with a plan for you. We can make that happen. Last week, 2 weeks ago actually, we had our first Ideals dual enrollment instructor professional development Saturday. We're looking to have another session in October, so we're increasing those opportunities. And what's really unique is that those are, the motivation comes from the dual enrollment instructors wanting to provide this to our dual enrollment family, if you will. Right, so we're going to continue to support that and fund that, and hopefully we can expand that in the future. Again, creating incentives, making sure that dual enrollment teachers feel like they're part of something and they are in a program that is well worth it, not only for them, but for their students and their school. So, I know I kind of went through the data real fast, but this is really what I wanted to do today, is introduce our team. So I know we have one missing, but I would like for the recruitment and dual enrollment transition team to stand up. They're in the back right now. So we're excited because I know we've only been together for 3 weeks, but it's been a learning curve for them, right? It's been a learning curve. It's been, trying to understand Pima processes, and we were just shoving data down their throats, and they're just trying to learn this, and the first day their heads were probably like this and wanting to explode. But you know what? It's for the right reason, because I wanted to make sure that at least for the fourth quarter, they try to get out to your schools and make sure that they are able to help support students that, one, are wanting to come to Pima, and two, that are not sure where they want to go, but three, to make sure that there's going to be a Pima presence on your campus. So I'd like to first, Brianna Felix, raise your hand. And Christy Mondreal actually had to go to a school. She had an appointment, so she's actually working, I believe, at Flowing Wells, if I'm not mistaken, or Amphitheater. Then Kathleen Murphy, raise your hand. Hi. Quinn Sweeney, there she is. And Tyler Vertrees is not here today, but he is, I'll be out to your high schools making sure that we introduce him to your programs. And then we have our dual enrollment team. We have Manny Carrillo, raise your hand. These are the people that send you emails and trying to say, hey, we need rosters, or this student is missing a name number, or how do we get this information, or we need a teacher. These are the people, okay? And so just smile and wave at them, make them feel like their job. Kathleen Kent is up here helping me with the presentation piece of it. Susana Armanta is not here. She actually works for us part-time. She retired, but she came back as a temp employee just to make sure that we are able to run smoothly, right? So it's like to continue the programs. Selena Ortega back there. Hello, Selena. We have Mary Morales. Carolina Sestiaga. And our intern, our public ally intern, Venus Davis, she's actually working on campus on a few things, but she's not with us today. So that's our wonderful team, and these are the people that should be working with your students, and you should be seeing at least before the end of the year. If not, we should be working with you and your students in the fall. So when I'm talking about pathways and accelerating a program for your students, this is just an example of some work that we're doing with cybersecurity. This right here just tells us how we can be creative and innovative in terms of embedding a cyber program associates of applied science degree at your campus. And what it takes is just making sure that we are aligning our courses, making sure the sequencing are correct, and that we're, instead of stretching our courses to be year-long, and we've been talking about that outside, we need to start making our classes semester-long, so that way students are completing the curriculum in 1 year. They're already covering it in their academic courses. We just need to make sure that we understand and aligning the curriculum so that way students are finishing their 2 classes in 1 instead of 1 semester course all year long. So we need to work on those pieces, and we're getting there, and we'll be able to help support you through that process. Here's an example of culinary. We're also making sure that we have our other programs aligned to this as well. We can also do any of the programs that we have to offer. So these 2 are just 2 examples of what we should be having conversations on because we want to make sure that these students do get an opportunity to finish an associate's while they're in high school. Couple announcements. So the Nc3 signing day is next week, and I'm sure you guys are like, oh, this guy keeps emailing me. Like, gosh, don't you get it? We're going to be there, but it's okay. I want to keep bugging you because I'm like your, no, I'm not going to say it. But anyways, I want to make sure that we have representation. We should have our high schools there. And I know that this COVID thing has been kind of a nightmare for us, but we want to at least try to show that we appreciate and we want to celebrate the students that are participating in our dual enrollment courses and are looking at pursuing their education with us. So please, if you could talk to your CT directors, or if you could please make sure that we get students participating in the Nc3 signing day next week. There's still time. Also, on the 26th of this month, we're going to have a college knowledge, PCC College Knowledge Day for your counselors and your professionals to continue the collaboration and the work that we're doing as a dual enrollment team, but also as Pima Community College. We want to make sure that we are providing the support, providing the information, and making sure that what we do at Pima Community College that's important is going to be important for you and your students. It has to be delivered to you. So we want to make sure that we're doing that and making those connections. Because I know there's going to be a lot of changes. We know that counselors change, principals change, right? You know, so we just want to make sure that the information is fresh and making sure that we're there to help support you along the way, no matter what your students' goals are in terms of post-secondaries. We want to be there to be that person, that college. So that's our contact information, and I know that was a 10-minute thing, but I just wanted to make sure that we thank you for being here, that we are thankful that you are a partner with us. We are very thankful that we see so many great things that are happening out at the schools, and we're just so thankful that you are educating our students. Everything that you and your teachers and your staff have gone through in the last 2.5 years, you know, we just can't speak highly enough for the things that you guys are doing right now. And we want to make sure that we are going to be true to our partnership, be true to the things that we're doing, whether it's dual enrollment or transitioning your seniors over to Pima Community College, or just having conversations with them in terms of even going to a four-year university. We want to be that point person for you, that point of contact to make sure that we have all the answers for you. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Burdick, if he would like to come up here and just kind of give you some updates and information. Philip Burdick is our interim Vice Chancellor for External Relations. So, Phil.
Thank you, James, very much. And I haven't been here long. I've only been here about 9 months, but I will tell you this. Talking to James, he is not satisfied with the status quo. He is an instigator for change, a catalyst for change. Let's give him a big hand. You know someone who's impatient when you see it, and James is impatient, and he's not satisfied with the status quo of PCC and what we've been doing with high schools in the past. I think the college itself, something that I've learned, we need to change our relationship with high schools. And part of that relationship building is, number one, more boots on the ground, and James has been a catalyst for that. Hiring more dual enrollment people, hiring more recruiters. We need people in the high schools, in the classrooms, talking to faculty, talking to you, and an easy point of contact. One of the things that I've learned, in less than a year here, people have trouble accessing us. And when we have to address it, there has to be easier ways for people to pick up the phone, call us, email us, be assured of getting a response right away. And it's not only the students that we're talking about. So since January, we've been sending out these mailers, and you can see them on your chairs. We need to do better outreach with the parents, because it's the parents that we find with this demographic are the key influencers. So we've sent out this emailer. You can see it. It's both in English and Spanish. And this is kind of fun. If you have it near you, open it. Just go ahead. Yeah, just open it. Yeah, if you don't have one, just grab one off of a chair. It's kind of fun. Yeah, just grab it, open it. You might want to protect your eyes as this box pops out. But just go ahead and open it. Hopefully no one gets injured. We sent this out last week. We haven't gotten any lawsuits yet, but so I know a lot of people in the digital age. We do a lot of things digitally. We have an upgraded website. We do a lot of search advertising. We do a lot of text. We do a lot of banner ads. But in our experience, for parents, mail is cool again. So we will be mailing things like this to the parents of all high school students every single month until August. Because we have to not only convince students to come here, but we have to convince parents that PCC is affordable, it's accessible, they have faculty and students who care about their students, it's not intimidating. We can set up a class in any mode they want, in person, hybrid, online. If they have technology challenges, we can lend them laptops and we can lend them hotspots. We need to do a better job of reaching out and letting parents know that we can serve them. And then that's the point of this mailing campaign, our digital campaign, and all the work that James and his team are doing. So it's definitely a new day for the college and how we outreach to high school students and how we outreach to you, and that's awesome. And so the last thing that I'll say is an ask of you. So when we started this campaign, I did reach out to the high schools. We need your mailing lists. Some high schools are better than others at getting them. This is all directory information. And so if we do run into a snag, we might be circling back to you, asking you to please, give your administrators a nudge. We need the most accurate information. We need their mailing addresses. We need if they have email addresses, we need to reach out. We promise we won't do too much spam, but we need to get in front of them. And for parents, mail is absolutely the best way to do it. So we need those home addresses. We get a lot of these things sent back to us because we have old mailing addresses. And so I will tell you, every single year, probably just before we go on to winter break, we're going to be making requests so that we have current updated contact information for all high school seniors, telling them you know, your college is affordable, it's accessible, we're here for you. It would be great if every single dual enrollment student went to college. They don't have to go to PCC, but they have to go somewhere. It would be great if every single one of your high school students did something post-secondary, because we know, and all of you know here, I know I'm preaching to the choir, a high school degree is not going to get them where they want to go. It's not going to get where our workforce needs to be. They have to do something. They don't have to go to college, but we have fast-track degrees. We have, you know, technical certificates. We have workforce credentials that take you from high school to short-term training to an apprenticeship to a job. So they don't all have to go to, you know, a two-year associate's degree at Pima Community College, but they have to go somewhere, and that's our message. And hopefully, I know you guys are the carrier of that message, and we want to help support you in doing that. So with that, just thank you so much for being here. I know it means a lot to the college. It means a lot to James, and we appreciate all of your help on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could have Greg Wilson to come up, the Dean of Applied Science Technologies. He's going to just kind of walk you through what he's going to take you through. Do you want to just talk to him about it? Sure. Yeah. It's a quick tour.
How many of you have seen our new buildings yet, or aware of the four phases? The four phases of the first Center of Excellence that's rolling out, the Center of Excellence in Applied Technology. So we actually have 4 phases to that project, and 3 of them are here at this campus. So if you're interested, I'll meet you right by this front door in 2 minutes, and we'll take a tour.
Thank you. That concludes this luncheon. I appreciate you coming out and seeing us. It was probably more important for me to see you. So thank you for being here, and we hope to talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.